I really struggled to write this intro because I'm torn between two trains of thought with this game. On the one hand, it's a great skating game and it's got a unique twist in the form of its combat, but I don't think I enjoyed it as much as some other players did. I haven't watched or read any reviews, but I have seen the headlines. People seem to love this title, and to be honest, I absolutely see why. Its small-scale arenas, focused gameplay, and finely tuned mechanics are very well presented and are genuinely fun to engage with. It's another one of those situations where I like the game, I enjoyed a good chunk of my time with it, and I understand the love for it, but by the end I was very much done with it. However, I firmly believe that I'm going to be in the minority on that, so I'm going to say right now that I do recommend it. My existing subscribers already know that I won't just trash a game because I didn't personally like it. It's an expertly crafted video game, and that isn't even up for debate, but it just so happens that it's not exactly my cup of tea. So what is Rollerdrome? Well, it's a unique third-person action shooter that combines the trick-based gameplay of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater with the slow-motion bullet-time gunplay of something like Max Payne. At first glance, Rollerdrome looks like a very basic game. You simply select a level and you skate around it performing tricks with the end goal of taking down all of the enemies. Each individual level that you play has a long list of challenges to complete, ranging from collecting tokens to defeating enemies with certain weapons and everything in between. And aside from some first-person sections where you can explore a small area, that's essentially the entire game. However, its finer details are where you'll discover and begin to understand the full experience. You play as Kara Hassan, a new Rollerdrome player in the year 2030. Giant corporations control virtually everything in the world and have decided to revive the concept of the blood sport. If you remember things like Smash TV, Unreal Championship, or the 1987 film The Running Man, you'll understand where this is going. Rollerdrome is essentially a deadly televised sport that's beamed across the world to millions of fans. As the player, you're basically challenging the house and you'll need to eliminate all of the house enemies in order to emerge victorious. Some of the house enemies do move around a little bit, but they don't use skates like you do. They exist as obstacles to be dodged and taken down in a variety of stylish ways. The game often feels like you're playing Jet Set Radio, or probably more accurately Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, aside from the guns of course. Each map or arena is full of ramps to jump from, rails to grind, and enemies to kill. As Kara, you'll be able to perform a ton of different tricks using a system that is, once again, very reminiscent of the Pro Skater games. One key difference here is that you can't actually fail a trick. You can't fall over or crash or anything like that, and I would guess that this has been done to keep the game flowing at a good pace. Performing tricks is the only way to reload your weapons, and as such is vital to your survival. The idea is to weave tricks and kills together, allowing you to dispatch your enemies in a more efficient manner. You'll have access to 4 weapons which are mapped to the D-pad for easy access. Each one of them serves a different purpose on the battlefield and is more effective against certain enemies. You've got the dual pistols, the shotgun, the grenade launcher, and the crossbow to make use of. As an example, you'll occasionally come up against a large combatant with a riot shield. Now, you could just shoot at him over and over until you get through the shield, but that takes time and probably multiple reloads. So what you can do is use the grenade launcher to stun him, which makes him lower his shield instantly, allowing you to take him out much faster. Each enemy that you encounter in the game has some kind of strategy to them that you can exploit, and it's important to know that killing the enemies replenishes your health. It can be a good idea to leave some of the grunt enemies alone for a while as you deal with the bigger threats, because you may need them later for a health boost. Aiming your weapons using the left trigger slows down time for a brief period, allowing you to target and kill the enemies of your choice. As you may have noticed in the gameplay, you're also able to dodge at any time, even while airborne. This very quickly becomes another strategic tool because some enemies can literally snipe you from across the map. Dodging at the last possible moment results in a perfect dodge, and if you aim right after a perfect dodge, you'll enter super reflex mode, which increases your damage for a short time and is vital for high scores. Not only are you trying to kill all the enemies to beat the level, but you're also striving for higher and higher combos and score totals. Rollerdrome is completely single player, and the time it takes to complete the campaign will vary quite a lot depending on the player's skill. Some people have said it takes around 6 or 7 hours, while others have said around 12 or 15. I think I was somewhere in the middle, so it really is anyone's guess. Campaign progression works on a system of challenges, and each map is gated by the last. To put it simply, completing challenges will unlock new maps, but you won't be able to actually play them until you beat all of the other maps leading up to it. There's a wide selection of challenges available for each map, and they cover pretty much every type of gameplay situation, from simple tricks to high scores or killing enemies in a certain way. The campaign also features a few first-person sections where you can explore your environment for story and background information on the world that you're playing in. It basically provides the player with some lore surrounding the megacorporations who set up Rollerdrome, and also some insight into their motives. Rollerdrome is available right now via download on PS4, PS5 and PC. Unfortunately, there are no physical copies available at the time of this review. So what did I think of the game? What are my personal feelings towards it? Well, as I said at the beginning, it's a bit of a tough one. I won't go into the whole extended spiel right now, but you guys know that I don't just like to bury a game if I don't enjoy it. I like to try and find the positives and actually take a moment to consider why other people like it so much. I reserve trashing a game for those truly awful things like Chocobo GP or Babylon's Fall, for example. So when it comes to Rollerdrome, I get it, I see it, I understand it, but it doesn't really do it for me. I think the best way I can describe it is that I like it, but that's where it stops for me. I mean, it's not like I hated certain aspects of it or anything like that, I just don't love it like everyone else seems to. My other half actually walked in while I was playing it and she asked me if I enjoyed it, and I just simply replied with, yeah, it's good, and I kind of had nothing more to say after that. I do actually like the minimalist visual style that they've gone for, and I definitely think it helps to give it its own identity. If they had have gone with a realistic look, I think it may have actually hurt the game considerably. I do personally prefer the cel-shaded and more stylized look of something like Jet Set Radio, due to its use of thicker black outlines, but I think Rollerdrome's visual style suits it very well. To be fair, having thicker black outlines in this game would have probably made the screen feel a lot messier. This game can be pretty difficult at times, so as the player you really do need to be able to see everything clearly, which I would bet is why it looks the way it does. I do find the main character to be utterly forgettable though, so I think it would have been a better idea to let us create our own character. The narrative side of the game does of course relate to Kara, but it's not so in-depth that you couldn't just replace her with a custom player character. Funnily enough, I found the enemies that you fight to be both entirely forgettable and super memorable at the same time. You see, the house players are all just goons in armor. There's nothing special about them at all. That said, they've all been so well designed that you know exactly what you're looking at from almost any distance. With little more than a cursory glance, you can tell exactly what kind of enemy that you're dealing with, and when you mix that with their difficult to avoid but fair attacks, it just feels right. You can be killed very quickly in this game if you're not paying attention, and from my experience, you can't really just stick with one weapon that you like and casually roll around doing tricks and taking out enemies. You need to be thinking about where to do the tricks and when in relation to the threats that you're facing. Snipers can be very dangerous, for example, so getting to them first becomes a bit of a combat puzzle, requiring you to think about when and where you do specific actions. It's definitely not an easy game, and I don't doubt that some people may get a little bit frustrated with it at times. It's not what I would call unfair, but the skill ceiling is rather high, so practice and failed attempts will be required. My only real complaint is that the controls can feel a little bit wonky when skating around the arenas. For the vast majority of the time, it feels completely fine, but then again, on other occasions it can feel like you're trying to turn a tank. Also, the camera occasionally won't cooperate when you've got it pointed in a different direction. I've got a few examples I could give, and the first is that the game wants you to look around with the camera to shoot and scout the various enemies that spawn. The thing is though, when you look behind you, it will sometimes completely ignore your turning inputs, leading to some crashes or some unexpected behavior. The second is that the game wants you to press forward on the analog stick to skate forwards, but if you do this while going up a ramp, you'll jump over it and out of it instead of up in the air. Like most things, this can be mitigated with practice, but it just feels natural to hold forwards as you go up a ramp. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's kind of hard to stop yourself from doing it. Now obviously, those are very minor issues, nitpicks if you will, and with enough gameplay, you'll probably learn to play around it anyway. In my opinion, Rollerdrome is a deceptively smart shooter with top-tier gameplay design that successfully melds two completely different genres. I mean, the results speak for themselves, and I'm happy to see the positive buzz that the game's received. The only problems that I personally had with it were that the movement on the ground felt a little bit janky at times, and the later maps can get frustratingly difficult. Other than that, I have to say it would be very difficult for me not to recommend this. I mean, the game's incredibly unique, the tricks are fun to perform, the slow motion shooting is really cool, and visually, it's not something you see every day. Ultimately, this is one of those games that you really have to play for yourself to understand how it feels. I don't think there's really been anything like this before, and it's really cool to see some developers creating something new and fresh in the current games industry. That said, Rollerdrome didn't exactly blow me away, but I did like it and my overall experience was a positive one. While I probably won't ever go back to it, I do think that if you're interested in it, you should absolutely pick it up. It's of such a high quality that I just don't think you'll be disappointed. If on the other hand you're unsure about it, or maybe you're on the fence, I would probably wait for a sale or perhaps try the trial version that's included with PS Plus Premium if at all possible. If you enjoy the video, I really hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you like what I do and want to help support the channel, please check out the first link in the video description down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.